Okay.
Oh,
Here we go.
Hey guys.
What's
hey,
Can y'all
hey,
going
hear me
on?
okay?
what it do?
How you feeling?
Okay, I might have to move
Yep,
to a different
everything good.
location. Hold on. Let's see.
Oh, I
Do
see.
it?
It's got you a little
Okay,
slight stop and
slight
go. I
stop and
see
go.
it.
Okay. I didn't
It's
know.
clearing
Is
up
that
though.
good? I'm doing well.
Yep,
How
how
you
you
guys
doing?
doing? Oh, that's good.
Sensational,
Those are
excited.
good words,
Super
sensational and
excited.
excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I gotta bring my
Oh
vocabulary
no,
out when I'm
it's
talking to
fine.
you.
Trust me. I love all vocabulary. How are you guys feeling?
I'm good. I'm good.
Feeling good.
I'm looking forward to our
Okay.
celebration of women
I
tomorrow
am
for sure.
too. Just it's been a hectic day, so um, yeah.
Okay. Well, we really appreciate you joining us on your hectic day and just at all because we big fans. I don't know how much you know about us, but like we have a love thing with upstate New York and
Okay.
Buffalo and the whole scene. Like we pulled in a couple artists into the DMV because we just really love hip hop. We really love just life bars and just the culture in itself. So this is a great moment for us to be able to get some of your time and just have you come to the city and just share your art with us. So it's just we big appreciative
Okay.
right now for real.
Absolutely. And if for any reason I start freezing, just let me know because I did take my Wi-Fi off, but I feel like it might be a little delay still. But y'all let me know if everything is good.
Now
Okay.
It's pretty smooth over here.
everything's good. So I know a little bit about you because I definitely, do my research,
Mhm.
but we also been talking
Mhm.
back and forth and I have your bio and stuff. So we know you as the poet, but for people that don't know what else there is to know, what else do you like to do besides poetry, besides poetry on records, poetry obviously in person, like we'll see tomorrow. What other arts are you
I'm really
into?
into all things artsy. um,
Yeah.
my childhood was filled with art. Honestly, um, I mean, I was introduced to a lot of different things as far as like music. That's probably like my first love is music. Um, then I was introduced to poetry, dance, African dance, ballet. I was introduced to the theater. Um, currently, I mean, I like anything. I like everything that's kind of involved in music, arts. One of my, I guess, one of my hobbies, I like the most kind of therapeutic is probably cooking right now. Um, but
Okay.
I'm a writer,
Mm.
so anything that has to do with writing, literature, reading, I can't say people ask about your hobbies and stuff, but really, like every day is a hobby for me. Every day, living is a
Okay.
hobby.
Right.
Honestly,
That's
that's one
cool.
of my favorite hobbies. Is just living life.
So you said writing as a whole. Are we gonna get a Keisha Plum movie one day? A movie written by
No,
Keisha Plum in
absolutely.
the
I mean,
future?
I already have a book written. Um, so
Okay.
I'm working on a series of short stories right now, all based upon this one character. Um, the movie is definitely in my future because honestly, like I want to be, get back to the stage. I did some acting many years ago, but getting back on the stage is something that I absolutely want to do. So, writing a script uh, wouldn't be so far removed from really testing my pen and trying to, bring in a different side of Keisha Plum that people may not be really aware of. So,
Okay.
So speaking to your pen, right? I know dealing with somebody like Nature, who's an artist too. It's always interesting to have a conversation of like which way you prefer
mhm.
to display your artistry. And I know for me, hearing you speak your own words has been really impactful. Which one do you enjoy more? The actual like people receiving your word on paper, or you presenting it um,
Well, I
vocally, if you
guess
will.
you see, a lot of people haven't been exposed to my writing on paper, so that's where I want to get them ready for. I absolutely love performing. This is my first show in a little over a year. As far as my own show, I had a show out here in Atlanta, um, the end of 2021, and that was pretty successful. We had a really good night. It was great energy, and so I'm definitely excited for tomorrow. Even though I may not sound like it or look like it, because it's been a long day. And I got I still got a
Nah,
million
we
things
we
to
we
do
can feel the
tonight. But
excitement.
I would,
And you got an early plane tomorrow
yeah.
too, so you
I
gotta
mean,
pack a
it's
lot of
just some
stuff
last
in,
minute
right?
things that I gotta take care of and touch base with. But ultimately, like people know the spoken word already. They know the voice already. They know the collaborations and the music already. So open them up to my pen as far as writing and them able to be able to open up a book and like absorb my poetry that way is definitely the goal. I absolutely want to write a book one day, like just more like on a memoir side of things. Um, like the autobiography, but more in a series of memoirs. But I want people to be just as engaged as they are through uh, my writing as they are with my pen. So as far as my voice goes, so I want them to, the connection that they have with my voice is amazing and my sound, but when they actually get to like maybe read my words and then imagine it in my voice is kind of where I'm hitting to people wanting to visualize what I'm saying versus hearing it. So
Okay. We had a question from somebody that I thought I was gonna ask too, but who are the poets that inspire you? Um, who inspired you to start writing poetry? Like, if that was a poet at all, and then are there any poets now that like you could kind of put us onto that kind of inspire you these days that we don't
um
know?
obviously, I definitely get asked that a lot. I mean, it's such a broad question because I feel like poetry is
Okay.
found in so many different art forms. Um,
Okay. That's that's
yeah.
that's
Um,
that's valid. Um, I think a lot of people like for me, I,
mhm.
I know a lot of poetry through music. I don't know a lot of like people who consider themselves spoken word artists and poets unless I go to a spoken word show and learn that way. So I think like just are there any like self proclaimed spoken word artists that inspired you to start that form of poetry
Mm,
that you present
well,
versus like
I
writing
have
a
a lot of
song or
poetry
writing
influences, but I never, I never started off saying I want to be just a spoken word artist. Right? So when
got you.
I've been writing poetry since I was a kid. So when I first, um, would hear different poetry making its way in different hip hop albums, I was like, that's so raw. This is from many, many, many moons ago.
Hmm.
So um, back in 2010, one of my coworkers at the time, he was rapping and he had approached me to do some poetry on his mixtape. This was, yeah, 2010. So I did it. It was fun. We recorded it. I was recording poetry like in my closet, just putting it on YouTube. And my brother, he had an album that he was working on a mixtape, and he had me do the intro and outro poetry on his album. And so then fast forward, me running back to West, it opened up him already knowing that I did poetry, him already knowing that I had been on doing a few little albums, and for me it was just because that was fun to me. So with that being said, I really started just more concentrating on the poetry, but I liked delivering the poetry. So it's almost like when you
Hmm.
are in this state that you are like just concentrate on the poetry, you do fall into like, oh well, she's doing spoken word, and the two are of course parallel, but I never went into it saying like I want to be the greatest spoken word artist or anything like that. I guess because of spoken word is
Right,
poetry.
right,
So not all poets speak their
right.
poetry, you know. So hold on one second. I'm gonna put
Mm.
something me. Am I good?
Okay. Your sound went
Okay.
out for just a
Yeah,
second,
I
but it's
meant to
back
put my
in
phone
now.
on
I just
do not
I
disturb when
didn't
I
want to miss
started,
anything
but
you said.
I totally forgot. So yeah,
It's
yeah,
Got
all
them
good.
yeah. So I
alerts
was like,
popping
damn it.
off.
I feel like it keeps stopping me, but so yeah, man. I hope that answers your question. But as far as like specifically, like you can run down the list of different poets that are out there. One of my biggest influences probably just as far as like early poems that I was introduced to, or poets that I were introduced as earliest as possible would have been Maya Angelou, would have been Nikki
Right,
Giovanni, um, the the poetry that Nikki Giovanni did. See, when she was doing when I first heard Nikki, first poem I ever read, because I didn't hear it first. The first poem I ever read from Nikki Giovanni was Ego Trippin'. So that form of poetry was different from what I read from Maya Angelou. So when I got into Nikki's like persona and she really had this ego about her, it definitely helped shape my ego in writing. Um, but she's
uh-huh.
probably definitely one of my biggest influences as far as just um, the things that she talked about, because she was very what she is very very specific in details. So and she makes you feel different things with her writing that I hadn't felt with anybody up until that point. So
I could definitely see where like you you would grab inspiration from that because that's how I feel about your writing. Like
Mhm.
just even in your description, the first sentence says Poet.Villian.Goddess. Like, and I was just like, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's all we need.
That embodies it perfectly when I hear your poetry. And so, of course, I was introduced to you through West
Okay.
Records, stuff like that. I know you've done things with Conway, El Camino, Flea. Like I've heard them all. I'd like to know what is your favorite piece on, like, what's your favorite song you've done a verse on?
Um, I feel like that's so difficult to answer. A lot of people ask me that.
All right, give me your top three. Let's
Yeah,
do top three because you got a lot.
I would say Vera Boys is probably definitely one of my favorites, because this was the second mixtape slash album of the series, and Wes had approached me and was like, I'm working on the second tape, and what most people know is that the first tape on that poem that he wrote that first poem, and that was because that was his vision, and he was just like, yo, I just want you to
Mm,
recite it for me, because I know you recite in a different stanza, you recite it as a poet. And I was thrilled to do it, because that was actually one of the we had a studio session, and that was really my first time hearing West rap. So that was like, okay. So then we fast forward to the second one, and of course I didn't know it was going to be Vera Boys at the time, but it was just dope, because we were just in the studio. I was just writing to the track, and the rest is history, really. But Vera Boys is absolutely in my favorites. And it's like I could say my favorites may vary from day to day, but Vera Boys is always gonna be there.
yeah.
Um, I feel like Fly, and it's kind of like this the next one I did, but I feel like uh,
Mm,
people gravitated to that so crazy beyond what I thought they would. But there are a few lines in there that people always hit me with. Um, so that's definitely up in my favorites. But if I had to say top three, let me just say Vera Boy. I would have to say RBD. Um, and I would say like
Mm-hmm.
a newer favorite would probably be like a tie between May Store and Less. So
Okay.
those are like some
Cool.
of the ones I guess I've had the most interesting experiences writing. So, um, but it's a lot, you
Okay.
know. A lot of people fan favorites really like Gustavo. Um, but you know,
Yeah.
Gustavo was a little stressful to write, but it came out how it came out. So
Why? Why was Gustavo stressful to
maybe
write? Just a
not
little
even
insight on that.
because you know I don't know what
Let me know
poems are
from your
named
point
until
of view.
after the fact. So let's just say the Fly Guy album, writing for that because I had already wrote a piece for the Fly Guy album, and um,
Okay.
it just it wasn't what Wes we have. I wrote it so far in advance, but Wes was like, "I'm changing the whole direction, so you got to write something different." Um, like he's only done that twice, so that was the first time he did it for that album, and then he did it for the May what would be the May Store song. But he was just like, yeah, we know we just did a different direction, et cetera, et cetera. So this was probably it had to be like 2015. So because that album came out 2016, and I really remember that I wrote something, we recorded it, I was with him, and then the next when I actually wrote and recorded what's known as Gustavo, it wasn't with him. So I was eager to get his feedback on it and see if he loved it or hated it, but he absolutely loved it. So,
Right.
but I know a lot of people love Gustavo, so it's definitely near and dear to my heart. But
Has that ever been a time that you wrote a poem ahead of time and you were really excited about it? You were really like, yo, this is the one, and you brought it to the studio, and it just like his direction was like, I don't really like that direction as much, like as far as
mm-mm,
like what you wrote. Have you
no,
ever been through
mm-mm. The
anything
only
like
time,
that?
like I said, it's only happened twice. Well, this was the Fly Guy album, and that's because yes, it
Okay.
was some time that passed in between recording the first song for the Fly Guy album versus him like changing the total direction of the album um and the only other time was Maystor, and that was because he's like I hadn't heard anybody's verse. I didn't hear anybody's verse from Maystor probably until about a month before it came out. Um, I just had that
Okay.
beat. I wrote to it. He heard it. He was like, "I love it, but it's got to be grimier. Like, it's really got to be with the mindset of what would Shingun do? Because Shingun was a grimy ass nigga. He was like, so I just want you to get as like dark in your thoughts, like bring it out, like, but you got to think of just a very grimy feel. And so that wasn't so much a challenge, but that was only like I said the second time that has ever happened. So and those were some years that passed. I was like about 4 years difference that passed, and we made a lot of music between that. But Wes has
Okay.
never everything that
Mm.
I've written has been, he loves it, So that was only the two
Mhm.
times, and the first time, we recorded that first one together for the Fly Guy album, and then he scrapped the whole. He changed the whole. He's like, I'm just changing so much from the album, and he sent me the track. I was in the studio somewhere else. I sent it to him. He loved it. And same thing with May Store. I recorded. I actually had to write it the very next day. So for Fly Guy, those two poems, those were like months in between. But May Store, I had to go in and write it a whole new poem and record it the very next day. So that was a little bit of a challenge, but uh,
So is it always your process to have the production and then write, or because I'm like that part is blowing my mind that you actually got the
yeah,
production and then you're
that's
going
pretty
in and
much the
writing.
process,
Um,
especially like I mean, especially with Wes. I mean, really, just about anybody that I've kind of worked with. I get the production and go in the studio, but a lot of times I'm hearing the production like the same day in the studio, so I really don't have too much time in advance
Gotcha.
sitting with anything. Like we're doing a lot of stuff same day.
Okay. And have you done anything where you had the production, you presented your poem, and then that spawned the lyrics for the artist? Because I
I
feel like that
don't
would be
know.
wild, interesting to
I
see. Because
don't know.
your
Like I
stuff's so
said,
vivid.
on May Store, I
Oh,
don't know if they had heard what I wrote. I don't know because I didn't hear what they wrote until, like I
mm,
said, I recorded for May Store months before it dropped, and yeah, because it dropped that
mm.
November and 2019, and I know I wrote that in probably like the end of the summertime sometime. But either way, like I said, I was hearing the whole album, and it was like almost about a month before the album dropped that I actually heard what they had wrote. So it was dope that West put me into that song though. But I don't know if it sparked somebody else to go in and say, I gotta do this now or do that. But it's always very
So your
Like
pen,
I gotta get grimy
hey,
because
listen,
Keisha just got grimy.
your pen fire. I can see
and
it
yeah,
spitting some
it,
bars.
it may it
I can see
may.
it. Hey,
I
man,
mean
I
I've
gotta
heard
tighten it up.
comments regarding it before, but I think that shit is good because see the thing about it is at the heart of rap is poetry. So poetry is not just some of the darkest poetry in the world. We've seen it in the different examples of different um, what they may call darker poets, like Edgar Allan Poe, for example, who are so within this world of dismay and despair that these beautiful words come out though. So most hip hop is in the dismay and despair, talking about a lot of rugged life shit, hood shit, like just the surroundings, even from the genesis. So it's like when that poetry is coming out of certain rappers, and then they so happen to be on a song with a poet, they're going to be thinking in that mind space a lot of times. Like, that they want that shit to be hot. They want that shit to sound like the shit meshes with each other. So yeah. Hmm.
I wanna shift a little bit to because the
Yeah.
event's called Herstory in the Making. It is Women's History
Hmm.
Month. It's Women's Appreciation Month. Um, and I would like to ask you, because I feel like a lot of times, especially in hip hop, there could be a lot of male dominant environments, stuff like that. And I just wanted to know, as a male, what could we do in the arts community to be more supportive to women and be more of just an aid in helping women of the arts continue to rise and expand and stuff like that? What could we as men do more from just from your thoughts to continue to be a support system to
I
the
just say
women of
keep
arts?
uplifting women. Like, don't try to put women in boxes. We cannot go in boxes. Like, I don't, women should, they can, they will, they have forever set the tone and set the trends. And I believe the beginning of everything. So what I would like for more people to do is just support women wholeheartedly. Like, even how women are categorized as female MCs, or she's the dopest this, or she
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, I know as God created man and woman that there are these distinctive roles that we both have. We both have to travel. A man can't tell a woman what to do, and a woman can't tell a man to do. A woman can't step as a man, and a man can't step as a woman. But men just need to understand that support and what it means to really support women, their sisters, their mothers, their daughters wholeheartedly. Just stop placing the limits on women. Just saying, "Oh, you sure you want to do that?" Because da 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 da, because you don't know what you may be planting in her, what kind of doubt you might be planting in her to feel like she can't do something because she is a woman. And so I just feel like men just being
Mm-hmm.
supportive in any aspect, as if you would want somebody to, like I said, support your spouses, your wives, your girlfriends, your daughters, your nieces, your cousins, your mamas, your aunties, whomever. Like, we all have these different trails we're trying to, blaze basically. But it can be hard because you want to feel support. Women want to feel support from men. That's just the bottom line to it. We want to feel support from our sisters and women too, but we definitely want to feel support from men, and that men are not trying to fight. Men are not trying to diminish our shine, and that men are trying to, at the very least, always always put life into us, speak life into us and speak life over the things that we're trying to do, and not trying to say, well, you can't do this because, and just more say, how can we help you do this? Because I think that's a very important, especially for the young ladies that's I don't know if there's any in our life right now, but just for the younger women and young men now. And you will find yourself caught up in making a comment or double tapping something that like, I ain't really encouraging what we need to encourage, but on a singular level, because we gotta like work this in steps still, but on a singular level, I just think that overall, this show that you guys are putting on tomorrow, I think it's very, 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 very validating. I think it's very, very important. And I feel like we need more of that. Filling up the audience to see a woman showcase. I think it's just more important. We definitely need more men interested in doing that, and more women interested in doing that too. So
I do want to let you know your
okay.
signal was going a little bit in and out, but I also was hearing what you saying and wasn't trying to
Oh, it's fine.
cut you
Yeah,
off
I'm
at all
sorry
because
it's
we were
going in and
definitely
out.
hearing what
I don't know what
you
to
were
say about that. Is it better now? Should I?
saying. Yeah, that's
Good.
all good.
I did want to ask you one other question. I feel like the work that you're doing, right, as far as the marriage of the spoken word with
Mm-hmm.
the music, I really can only think back to like the, and yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure all I can remember is men doing it. And so I think you're inspirational on a lot of accords, right? One, for spoken word artists of this generation, I don't think that there's a lot of exposure of them in general, on a big stage like you've been blessed with. But secondly, being a woman in these spaces, um, can you talk a little bit about how you're able to, stay on your two, stay on the path with the opportunity that's been presented with your spoken word traveling so far? Because I think there's, like I said, there's a lot of women in here that are inspired by your journey and your story.
Um. Well, it's hard some days, because you are putting your art first. Uh, and so with art comes critique. And so we can critique ourselves the hardest. But staying grounded is
Absolutely,
something that
absolutely.
you really have to do. Can't nobody else ground you. You got to really ground yourself, you know. You can do all the
Mm-hmm.
meditation and self love and self care, but at the end of the day, you got to still know what you're worth. You got to still know what you want to bring into this world. You got to still know how you want to share your gifts. So it's really important, like women and men, that if you are, um, I know it sounds like super cliche. We all heard it before, but you really got to believe in yourself first. Like, um, even my belief in myself, the self discovery of who I am, that has shifted so many times over the years. And so as you really come into yourself and be like, yo, I got this. The more you believe in yourself, the more you pump and push that anxiety and fear out the way. It helps you. It helps you to maneuver. Um, Maneuvering through this in the hip hop space, it can be a little tricky, sometimes. I grew up with three brothers. I
Yeah.
have four brothers, but I grew up with three. Never been afraid to be around guys, friends. Always, in Griselda, they come deep with the gang, with the men. So it's like, the relationship that I have with West, though, is more of such a brother sisterhood. So it's like he's always maintained a certain level of respect for me that's out of this world, and so it's trickled down to everybody that's around him to always show me that utmost respect. So, and then also you have to carry yourself with
Mm-hmm.
respect too, to a degree that you're not going to tolerate certain things, and that uh, we all got a mission We all got a purpose. You know what I'm saying? So I hope I'm answering your question, but ultimately, yeah,
No, you are.
Nah,
ultimately,
you answered
yeah,
it
ultimately,
perfectly.
you
Killing it.
have to
Right.
like put forth the work and everything. Like it is work involved. So when you show up, when Wes is calling me and asking me to say, hey, it's another album. We got to get in the studio. We got to get in the studio. I gotta get in there and I gotta figure out how I'm gonna present, this next poetry piece. How do I, fall in love with this track? How do I, say what I want to say and make this song sound complete or make the album sound complete? So it's definitely
Okay. Well, we know you got a lot to do, so
okay.
just
No
I got
problem. And
two
I
more
hope the
questions, and
Wi-Fi
I
is
hope they were
good.
on the short side.
Okay.
Nah,
Right
we
now we
good.
popping.
We
You
fine.
good?
We good. Okay, so you said
hmm
you like to cook, express yourself through cooking. What What is, I guess, what is your favorite dish to eat of your own, and then what is the one that everybody's like, yo, you gotta cook that again?
Um.
Like,
Good question.
So right
I'm
now
intrigued.
I'm in the healthier lifestyle, the pescatarian lifestyle, but I still cook, for my family. I think my family always loves like my soul food cooking. I love doing a nice soul food
yeah,
plate. They love my pastas. I can make a good pasta up really good, honestly, my family really, even people that are not my family, like it's so many people that have ate my food and they're like, they love it. And I guess I could say that because enough different people have tried my food. For my really good friend, it was her birthday
yeah,
and she loves my macaroni and cheese, and so I brought a pan of my macaroni and cheese to her birthday party to people that I did not know. I knew a couple of them, and black people, we a little hard to impress,
yeah.
especially macaroni and cheese. So
We
We
hard
gonna
on
they,
macaroni and
we gonna say it
cheese.
up
you
front
know,
too. Hey, who brought this?
Who brought the macaroni
they
and
they
cheese?
killed
That's
it. They
always a
loved it.
question.
So that's always a plus for me. But I like doing more healthier things now because I've tapped into that side of trying to be healthy and trying to make sure that I'm cooking with a purpose because I definitely want to be here longer. I always tell people I want to live till I'm 100 years old, God willing. And I know that there are things that you have to change within your diet and your thought process and your mind frame to say, look, how can I start eating a little bit cleaner? Those things that you still want to indulge in every once in a while, but you definitely have to start taking notice of things because, the health crisis in the black community, you see it like you got people passing away, like these hip hop legends, are just people, period. My grandmother, I feel like she died pretty early, and I think that was because of just health options that maybe we did not have before. We have them now. And so now we have to make better decisions, basically. So I feel like it's our responsibility to do that for our generation and the next generation. So, you know, um, I pour a lot into the cooking. I love doing my salads. I love my smoothies. I love doing these wraps now. So just different things that
I saw you put a bomb
yeah,
rap on your story the
yeah,
other
yeah,
day.
yeah.
I was like, oh
I
god, she killed
I was doing the smoked salmon.
it.
I like smoked salmon. I like a lot of different. I like to try different things too. And I've talked about food in some of my poetry, but I love trying different cultures, trying different things. I love Asian food. I love Mexican food a lot. I love Italian food. Like one of my favorite desserts is a cannoli. Uh, in Buffalo, we had a lot. We
Okay.
have a
Mm.
huge Italian community up there, so we have the Italian festival, as a matter of fact. But there was like we grew up in with
Mm.
bakeries. Now you get all the baked goods. You go to the grocery store, or whatever. But there was actually bakeries you went to. I mean, there's still bakeries, but things are different as
Mhm.
far as your mentality of how things are purchased now, because it's also mass produced. So,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
but getting the cannolis at the bakery, at an Italian bakery, that's different type of taste. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think like on a day when I'm frying some chicken and baking some mac and cheese and making some greens and candy yams and devil eggs and maybe
Mhm.
some rice. Yeah,
Yeah, you
they
know,
All
the
all the
that's when
classics,
classics,
the
that's when
classics,
they really
man.
love it.
Can't
And
go
it's like
wrong.
okay, but they love my family. They love
yeah.
trying.
You get that menu off that song. I like beans, greens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that all
But
of
I do
that.
try to
All
I'm
that.
trying to do more
Um,
healthier options
so
and, still like let them, experience. I don't eat, I haven't ate pork in I can't even tell you how long. Red meat I haven't ate since 2014. So, um but these are
okay,
just decisions that I made personally. You can't really tell nobody what to do. So, these are all just decisions that I make.
yeah, they're gonna go on.
No,
They're gonna decide
absolutely.
on their own
Absolutely.
time when to make the lifestyle changes. But it does influence people, like when they hear other people, like, "Look, I haven't done this since then," because you had a life before 2014 that you did, and then to be able to be like, "Hey, it's 2023, and I haven't done this since that time." It is inspiring people who are just on the fence about it, like, "Hey, that could be
Yeah,
me one
and
day." You
and
know what
health
I'm
is
saying?
wealth. You know what I'm
Um,
saying? So it is, but and
hmm
again,
yeah,
I would say the black community because I'm black, so that's what I'm gonna start on first. But for anybody,
right.
black, brown, indigenous, in between, we have to recognize the things that have been, put in place to destroy us. And, you know,
Hey, speak on
Absolutely.
yeah, if
speak
I
Real
on it.
could
talk.
tell somebody to just have a smoothie this morning instead of, I don't know, eating an egg McMuffin, yes,
Egg
and
McMuffin.
that it will take you, take you 5 minutes to cut up some fruit, and even if you want to cut that fruit up the night before and put it in the freezer and get it cold, and it's not so hard. Like, we make things harder than they really are. But these little steps that you could take that could say,
Mm,
look, I'm gonna put just some fresh fruits in my system, some fresh vegetables. I just made a really good green smoothie the other day. But when you really start just thinking about it, like, everything that I do is a freestyle. I don't put too much thought into it. I'm not looking up nobody else's recipes. I'm not even write down my own damn recipes. I just, yeah, it's off in the
right. You
heart.
cooking
Kind of
from
like
the
how my
heart.
poetry is. I
You
don't.
making it from the heart.
Like yesterday,
Yeah,
I think it was two
yeah,
bananas. That was
yeah.
all
So
right.
you
All
gotta do
right.
what works for you with that too. But it's just all a freestyle. And like like how my poetry is. It's just as I write. My writing is a little unorthodox in how I write my poetry and phrase it even, because I might start my poem with the ending words, and then I go back in and I might find the beginning. Like, the way I write is just, it's no method to it, honestly. So it's just all like from God, I could say, really.
Okay.
hmm
Now the name Keisha Plum. Where
Keisha
does
is every
Keisha
black
Plum come
girl.
from?
Um, Keisha is
Yeah.
every black girl. To be honest, a lot of people ask me about my stage name and everything like that, because even people that have known me for years will still call me Plum, Keish, whatever. So it's like, Keisha to me represents the voice of black women to me, because this
Mm,
is what is an extension of my ego. Because again, going back to Nikki Giovanni, ego tripping, um, she was really talking her shit. Um,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
so, um, when you put that in a space, like, wow, this lady's ego is huge, like, huge in this poem. And if anybody has or hasn't, I would encourage anybody to go read Ego Tripping by Nikki Giovanni. But what that did to me is made me realize writing is an extension of my ego. It's an extension of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so Keisha Plum, I can't even pinpoint, and it's just so crazy because this is how organic it was. I can't pinpoint even the moment that I started referring to myself as Keisha Plum, because it was even before 2010 when I did the first album, what my people's or mixtape he did. It was even before then. But I just remember, like, just scribbling it down, like, as like I would write stuff and I would just tag it Keisha Plum. So, but Keisha is definitely an extension of a very black girl, and it's one of the few names that is not a name, and nobody in my family is named Keisha. I have no friends directly named Keisha. That's the crazy part. But everybody knows Keisha.
That's crazy.
There's a Keisha in every hood,
Right.
and yeah.
For sure.
I got a sister
So
named Keisha, so yeah,
It's a
yeah,
it's
Keisha. It's a Keisha in
so
every
it's
other
like,
classroom.
yeah.
I just use that as an extension of who I am. Like I cut, like, and then the plum part really because a plum is one of those most fascinating fruits I feel because of the skin on the plum is so dark, right? And then the flesh of it is like this
Mm-hmm.
peachy color inside, and you never know when you bite into a plum whether it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be sweet or tart. But there's that mixture of sweetness and tartness, and so it's just like a perfect example of me because you never know if you're gonna get a tart little crazy side of me or the sweet side of me sometimes. So I try to come
Right,
with the
right.
sweet,
Okay.
but it wasn't nothing like I just by
Yeah.
chance or the name that I came up with. I just can never tell people like this is the exact day I knew I wanted to start calling myself that, but I knew I wanted to come up with something that was just like I felt like a real reflection of me, like just like this is who I am.
That's dope. That's actually a lot of insight to the
Yeah.
name. Like, like I
And then
didn't.
plum, the flesh of
That's
the
dope.
skin of the plum, like, it's just like the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice type time for me because the skin of the plum, like if you're looking at a traditional
Mm,
plum, now, you got cherry plums, but the traditional plum, like that skin is like in there so small. So it's like this small piece of fruit with this very impactful taste. And then, like also the nutcracker with the sugar plum fairies, like a lot of people don't know, I used to really be in love with the ballet, used to be in love with the opera and stuff like that. There's a huge theater and it's called Shays in Buffalo, and like that's when I first saw Dreamgirls there. They came to Buffalo. Like I saw Phantom of the Opera there as a child. We saw Carmen, the opera there as a child. Like I was exposed to a lot of different things, and it also had to do with the school system that I was in. Same school system that Wes was brought up in. We went to school together in Buffalo, so it was, all that exposure and then still living in the streets of Buffalo, like really living in the hood, you know, um, just kind of all melted together beautifully. But like, my name is definitely not by just chance. I really had really thought about it, like, what do I want people to call me? And that's it's like the rest is history, basically.
that's dope, though. That's dope. Like that's. I'm glad I asked that question because now and it just makes perfect sense. Like it's definitely a deep name because I was like, oh,
Okay, yeah. Not worry.
um,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for your time. Thank you so much for having this conversation with us. Like, we just wanted this to feel like a conversation and get people to like know more about you because they know the voice, they know the work, and like, we might get glimpses of you if you decide to share it with your story and share it, on your social media. But I was really glad to have this conversation with you, and I look forward to meeting you in person tomorrow and just seeing you do your thing and receive this love. Open Gyms like a very special community in the sense that like we show a lot of love. We have a safe space for creators to come express themselves, and I'm just glad that you'll be there to bless the stage. And we can't wait to
No,
yeah, we
I'm
can't wait to show
so
you that
excited
love
for
tomorrow.
tomorrow. We have a lot of people coming, so just FYI. Um, look, there
Hey,
might be some more people on that
we
guest
ready.
list, but I'm not sure. But it's beautiful because I think it's going to be a beautiful night, and I have to thank you guys because for me, it's quality over quantity. Uh, I've I've
Hmm.
I've understood what that really means more than ever. That the quality of people that you're engaging with, because I am rather selective of who I want to give my time to. And when you guys mentioned, I mean, that it was about women, that definitely was always a thumbs up. Not that it had to be, but I was like, this would be dope, And now it's like a reintroduction of me back onto the scene because I haven't been able to share no poetry on stage in a little while, and that definitely excites me. And I'm very much so looking forward to seeing everybody tomorrow and getting to DC and experience. And even I'm gonna be there for 24 hours, but I'm definitely ready to experience and see everybody. And I absolutely cannot wait. And I just want to give a great show, great performance. I got a few surprises for people on the stage, and I'm thoroughly excited. So I'm glad that you guys are putting this on for us, and this is good for, like, I know people say it a lot, but it's definitely good for the culture. Definitely good for the culture. Yeah,
That's what we
you
doing it
know,
for.
Thank you.
That's what we doing it for. And like I said, we have a special connection with upstate New York. Like we just really love what the scene's doing, and just we're big fans. But also too, like for me, just Weston, what he's doing, like I didn't know what to kind of call the hybrid of myself, like an artist who also likes to have platforms and also like shed light to other creators and curate. And so like just seeing the movement that you guys have all done together and how y'all stick together is just like it's like my adult role models as an adult, and
well,
I don't
we
have any of
each other
those.
role
So
models.
I just
That's the biggest
appreciate that.
thing. You know what I'm saying? We each other, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, how people see us, we see ourselves in other people. So just to drop those
Mm-hmm.
gems back to you, because that's very important, that you, like, everybody understands that they're, nobody is more important than the next. We all in this together. And also that, what I'm saying, if we can help shine a light on what you got going on, and you helping to shine a light on what we got going on, then that's all we need. That's what we need to do for each other. So
Well, that's forever. So
all right.
I
Well, it's
appreciate
been
that.
nice. I hope
But
that
yeah,
y'all have a good night. I got a few more things to finish up this evening myself.
Sure.
And
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am. Let you get back to
yeah.
unpacking and whatnot.
yeah.
I'll see
And
you
we'll see
tomorrow.
you. We'll see you very soon.
All right. Have a good night.
All right.
Peace.
You too.
Peace.
Thank you.
All right, y'all.